Okay, Scoop. So today we are going to learn the importance of the Scoop in a Hadoop. Why we have to use the Scoop and how to get the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster, and how to perform the day-wise import to the Hadoop cluster from the production database. So they are the things which we are going to discuss and we are going to learn in today's session. Okay, so try to remember everything itself in the class and don't get confused. If you have any confusion, please raise your hand. Okay, so Scoop, as its name says, it's a Scoop. That is, you have SQL plus Hadoop. Together we call it as a Scoop. Why we use a Scoop? Scoop is used to perform Scoop is used to perform it a simple word, that is a bulk data transfer. Scoop is used to perform bulk data transfer between production database and Hadoop cluster. Hadoop cluster in the sense HDFS. Suppose there is a client. The client is having the data in his DBMS. Suppose a client is getting 50 gigabytes of the data in a day to the production database. So every day he's getting 50 GB. That means in a month it reaches up to 15 terabytes of the data. So 15 terabytes of the data handling in a production database, it's very difficult, right? So you cannot write a SQL or MySQL statements to retrieve the data because your data size is very much bigger. Then the client have any alternate, simply he has to move the data to the Hadoop cluster. Then, okay, so a client now decided to move the data to the Hadoop cluster. But actually what client wants to do that, he just want to have a same lookalike environment, like how he's having the data into his production database. The same way he wants to store in the data into the Hadoop cluster, the same way he's trying to query in a Hadoop cluster. So that's the reason now we are using this Scoop to import the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster. So when the data is available in a database, then we use SQL tools like MySQL, and we query using select star from with a create table and different kinds of joins to retrieve the data. So the same way, when we use a Scoop to import the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster, and you wrote the data to the in a Hadoop cluster, and then we use the same kind of data processing in a Hive. So Hive is similar like the MySQL program. So how we create and the retrieve, like how we perform the DDL, DML kind of operations in a MySQL. So the same kind of environment we are going to do in a Hive. That means if a client is having a bulk amount of the data in a production database, so he uses a Scoop to perform the data transfer from the database to the Hadoop cluster. That is, we can able to import the data. We can able to import the data from the RDBMS to SDFS. So when we importing the data, we use a Scoop, and what from which database, from which table we are trying to import the data, the same kind of the data with the same number of rows, with the same schema, we are going to import it to the SDFS. Then how we, once the data is imported to the SDFS, how we are going to query in the MySQL, the same kind of query is possible in a Hadoop cluster. So see here, so this is the production database. Okay, so in this one, that it's suppose it's a MySQL database. Okay, so it's a MySQL RDBMS. In this one, I'm having a database. The database name is a test, and So the table which we are trying to import is on the table that is some test1 is a table name. Okay, so what is the table name? So I'm writing the table name as some test1. So what I want to do is now, so from the test database I'm having some data in a test1, right? So this is my production database, right? My situation is here, I'm getting 15 terabytes of the data in a month. So I don't have any alternate, so I'm using a Sqube to import the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster. So this is the Hadoop cluster which we are going to work, so which is one name node, and we have the multiple slaves are connected, right? So this is going to be the Hadoop cluster. Okay, so now here this is going to be the name node, and so these are all the slave machines are the data nodes. So now what I have to do here, I have to import the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster. So I have to import the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster. So this data import can be done by a component called Sqube, right? So then using a Sqube, we import the data. So to import the data, what we need a connector. See, because the data is available here, so this is a Hadoop cluster. So to establish a connection between the production database and Hadoop cluster, we need a connector. So we call it as a Sqube connector, right? So we use a Sqube connector to establish a connection between the RDBMS and SDFS. So right, so then how this Sqube connector establish a connection? It uses a JDBC connection method. It uses a JDBC connection method to establish a the connection between the RDBMS and SDFS. So this connector, Sqube connector, is specific to the DBMS. Suppose if the client is having the MySQL, then we have to use MySQL Sqube connector. Suppose if the client is having the SQL Server, then we have to use SQL Server Sqube connector. The same way, suppose if the client is having any Teradata as a database, then you have to use Sqube Teradata connector. So that is, this connector is specific to the each database. So which database you are trying to import the data, so you have to get that particular database connected, and you have to copy the configure the connector. So generally this can be done by the admin. So they'll configure the Sqube connector which establish a default connection, right? So once we configure the connection using the Sqube connector, then we can able to establish a connection. So what kind of the connection it is? It is a JDBC connection because it's written in Java. Sqube establish a JDBC connection, right? So now what I want to do here is I'm trying to import the data. Okay, from where? From the MySQL. So right, so we have to establish a connection string. So the connection is established with a keyword connect, right? So to establish a connection, we have to use a connection string. We have to create a connection string. So how this connection string we have to create? So just write hyphen hyphen, then connect. It's a keyword, so you have to write a connect, right? So how we are trying to connect? Through JDBC. Just write connect JDBC colon. Which database you are trying to connect to? MySQL. So just write MySQL colon slash slash. So in which machine you configured MySQL, write the host name or IP address where you have the MySQL is available. And which database you are trying to import, write the database name. And which table you are trying to import, write the table name. That's it. Now a connection is going to be established. Now what you want to do? I want to import the data. Then we can write a Sqube import command. That's it. When we run this command, Sqoop creates a directory in SDFS and Sqoop writes the data to the SDFS. So, right, when we establish connection string to import the data, what Sqoop will do? See here, it's important. So the directory name. So what is the table name in MySQL? The table name becomes the directory name in SDFS. So Sqoop creates a directory. Under this directory, Sqoop creates a part file which contains the data. Suppose I am trying to import the test1 table, then Sqoop creates a directory with a name test1. Under the directory test1, it creates a part file. So in this part file, all the data is going to be written to this part file, right? So what you have to remember, so when we are trying to import the data, Sqoop always tries to create a directory. Okay, Sqoop always tries to create a directory. So that is, if the directory already exists, it will throw the error, because what Sqoop will do, Sqoop always tries to create a directory. Which directory? What is the table name? The same name. Suppose if you are trying to import the sample table, then Sqoop will try to create a sample directory. So whatever the database name here, with the same database name, Sqoop will create a directory in SDFS. Under the directory, it creates a part file. In that part file, it writes the data. Okay, so okay, so now, right, so when we create this, so it will create a table name and the directory name. Under the directory, it creates a part file. So now whenever we are trying to import the data, so what actually we require? Okay, so now suppose I'm trying to import the data, right? So you are as a Hadoop developer, you are in office, and your manager told, yes, Deepti, you try to import the data from this production database to in this location SDFS. So you have assigned the task to do. So then what actually I need to before this importing the data? So what are the pre import checks I need to do? What are the things we need before importing the data to the SDFS? Right? So to import the data, first make sure that what we need, so you need to have privileges to connect to, right? So check that. So you have the privileges to connect to SDA, connect to MySQL or RDBMS. So ensure that you have given the privileges or not. Second one, so which database name we are trying to import? So database name and the table name. So which table we have to import. And third one, make sure that if table is enabled by primary key or not, right? We should know that it's mandatory. We should know if the table is enabled by the primary key or not. And fourth one, the where we have to import the data, right? We need to know four things before trying to import the data. So first thing is check whether you have the privileges to connect to the MySQL. So if you don't have the privileges, then the DBA will provide the privileges, select privileges where we can able to retrieve the data. So you won't get insert privileges. You'll get only the select privileges where we are going to connect to the MySQL using a Sqoop, and we can able to retrieve the data to the Hadoop cluster. So you need to have the privileges, the username and the password, are by default a connection to be established with RDBMS with valid your username and password. Then which database it is we are trying to import, and we should know that it's mandatory whether the table is enabled by the primary key or not. Okay, so why we need if the table is enabled by the primary key or not? So it is very important. Remember this. So if table is enabled by the primary key, then we can run multiple processes simultaneously. We can run multiple processes simultaneously. When we can run a multiple process simultaneously? If the table is enabled by the primary key. So multiple process in the sense here, we can run multiple mappers. We can run multiple mappers. That is, I can use -m4. That is 4 processes simultaneously goes to the database and it will retrieve the data. Suppose if table is not enabled by the primary key. So if the table is not enabled by the primary key, then we can able to run only one process. We can able to run one process. That is, we have to use only one mapper to import the data. So you have to write -m space 1. So it's a simple, just remember this. If the table is enabled by the primary key, we can run multiple mappers. Multiple mappers in the sense, suppose there are 1 lakh records are there, right? So there are 1 lakh records are there. Okay, so now I'm trying to import this 1 lakh rows to the SDFS. So if table is not enabled by the primary key, then we have to use only one mapper, because table is not enabled by the primary key. So when we use a one mapper, this mapper will create a one part file. Now this one part file will contain all the 1 lakh rows, right? But the thing is, here only one mapper has to work, right? We know that if a one person can do a work in 10 days, then the 10% will do the same work in a 1 day, correct? So the same way, if you can able to run multiple mappers, then it makes the parallel processing works, so that I can run multiple processes to retrieve the data. Suppose if the table is enabled by the PK primary key, if table is enabled by the primary key, then I can run multiple mappers. That is, the mapper 1 will create a one part file. So mapper 1 will create a one part file, and this part file will have 4 mappers, right? How many rows? 1 lakh rows. So this mapper will have 1 to 25,000 rows it will import. And the same time, the mapper 2 creates another part file 1, which contains the rows 25,000, 1 to 50,000, right? The same way, mapper 3, because we are using the 4 mappers, so mapper 3 create another part file, right? So which will contain the rows from 50,001 to 75,000, like this. So how many number of mappers you use? Each mapper will create a part file and it writes the data to that particular part file. So we are using 4 mappers. So the fourth mapper is with the number 3. So we'll import all the last rows 75,001 to 1 lakh rows, right? That is, this is possible if the table is enabled by the primary key. So if the table is not enabled by the primary key, so it is not possible. We have to use only one mapper to import the data, because the indexing is not possible. Suppose if you have a table like this, e name, then dpt name, right? So then how you specify that which from which number to which number will be assigned to the mapper 1, right? So dividing is not possible, right? Distributing the number of rows equally to all the mappers is not possible if the table is not enabled by the primary key. But if the table is primary enabled by primary key, so employee number is there, then it's easy, because there are 1 lakh employee number is a unique, so there are 1 lakh numbers are there, so 4 mappers, so each mapper will get each equal distribution of number of rows, so that each mapper will retrieve the data simultaneously and write the data to the SDFS. So that is the logic has knowing whether the table is enabled by the primary key or not. It's very simple. So if the table is not enabled by the primary key, that is indexing is possible. Suppose if the table is not enabled by the primary key, so we cannot able to equally distribute the rows to all the mappers. So indexing is not possible. So that we have to use only one mapper. Okay. So here you will get a one interview question. So your interviewer will ask, so the table is not enabled by the primary key. Okay. So the table is not enabled by the primary key, but I want to run multiple mappers. Is it possible or not? The situation is here is already previously I told that if the table is enabled by the primary key, we can run multiple mappers. If table is not enabled by the primary key, we have to use only one mapper. But my situation is my table is not enabled by the primary key, but there are 10 lakh rows are there. So how we use only one mapper to retrieve all the rows, right? So I want to run multiple mappers. Is it possible? Yes, it is a possible. So we have to manually specify the split by. I have to specify how I want to use split the table. So with a parameter split by writing a split by, we can able to use a multiple mappers for the table which is not enabled by the primary key. It's a simple. Just remember these three lines. The first line, if table is not enabled by the primary key, we have to use only one mapper. Second point, if table is not enabled by the primary key, we can run multiple mappers. Third point, suppose even if the table is not enabled by the primary key, we can run multiple mappers using a split by parameter. Okay, just try to remember these three important points. Okay, so let us see with a sample example here. Right, I'm trying to import the data to SDFS. The table is enabled by the primary key. If it is a PK enabled table, it uses default 4 mappers. Default mappers are 4 mappers. Even if you don't need to specify the number of mappers, it uses 4 mappers to import the data. Right, if the table is enabled by the primary key. Suppose if the table is not enabled by the primary key, and if you not specify the number of mappers, then it will throw the error. Specify.
If the table is not enabled by primary key, then we no need to specify the mapper.
Okay, and I'm using another terminal for the DBMS. Sorry, Scoop. So
Is this table enabled by primary key?
yeah, that I'll show you here. Okay, so just give me some time. You can see that. Okay, Dipti, K Dipti, Lakshmi, there.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Okay, right. So now, first make sure that there is no directory with the name team in SDFS. So it's there. I'm trying to delete here. Team. Right. So there is no directory with the name team in SDFS now. Okay. So what I'm trying to do now, I'm trying to import the team table from the test database to the SDFS. So I'm writing a scoop command, scoop, and I use a scoop import statement here to import the data. So I'm writing the command scoop import. Right. So I have to establish a connection. So to establish a connection, we have to use a connection string. Then how to write the connection string? We use a connect keyword to write the connection string. So I'm writing here connect to establish a connection. So which connection? JDBC connection. So I'm writing connect JDBC colon slash slash date JDBC colon MySQL. Which database we are trying to connect to? MySQL database colon slash slash. So in which machine MySQL is configured? So here I have configured MySQL in the same machine. So I'm using here localhost. So connect JDBC colon MySQL colon slash slash localhost. So I'm using the JDBC connection and database name which I'm using RDBMS is MySQL, and MySQL is configured in a localhost, and the table name is database name is a test, and then write hyphen hyphen table, and which table you are trying to import. So you can see here this table is not enabled by the primary key, so we use one mapper to import the data. So I'm writing hyphen m space one mapper I'm using to import the data from the test database team table to the STFS directory. So what Scoop will do now? So Scoop creates a directory. Which directory? The table name. What is the table name? Team. So Scoop creates a team directory in SDFS, and the team directory, it will create a one part file, and in that part file it writes the data. Now press enter. Okay, so now see here, retrieved 23 records. So where the data is retrieved? To SDFS directory. Now you can write Hadoop space fs hyphen ls team. So if you write Hadoop space fs hyphen ls team, now we can see a part file, right? So what is the name of the part file? Part hyphen m hyphen 5 zeros. Now you can see here Hadoop fs hyphen cat, then the database name team, and the file part hyphen m hyphen 00000. Press enter. Now we can able to see the data. Okay, so now what we did now? So we imported these rows from the SDFS, sorry, from the MySQL to the SDFS directory, team directory, right? So this is the before the data. Before importing, we have the data like this in DBMS MySQL, right? So the same rows I have imported to SDFS to a directory. So what is the directory name? What is the table name here? So with the same name, it will create a directory in SDFS. Under this, it writes the data. Okay. So what I did here to perform the Scoop import, I wrote a simple Scoop command like this. So this is the command I have used to perform the importing the data. Right, so here I have used Scoop import command, right? So what it will do now, it will create a directory with the team. So I'm using one mapper, so it creates a one part file. So all the rows from the test table are written to the team directory as a CSV data. So what is the point you have to remember? So just remember this: Scoop default, it writes the data to SDFS as a CSV file, comma separated value, as a CSV format, right? So default Scoop writes to SDFS as a CSV file format. Okay, suppose see here we'll see some R&D. So I'm deleting again this team directory from HDFS Hadoop FS-, RMR, then the team, this team. So there is no team directory in HDFS now.
Hadoop, sir.
Yes. Okay, so first I don't specify any mappers here. Okay, so I don't specify any mappers, just I wrote the correction string, the database name and the table name, press enter. Okay, so it's throwing the error. See now, error during the import. So there is no primary key could be found for the table team. So if the table is not enabled the primary key, and if you did not specify any number of mappers, it will throw the error. So what is suggesting? It's suggesting us to use, please specify one with a split by, or perform a import with a -m1, right? So either you have to use a split by to use a multiple mappers to import the data, or use one mapper to import the data, right? So you have it's suggesting us to use two things, right? One is you use a split by in this import statement, or use a -m1 mapper. So it's mandatory. If the table is not enabled by the primary key, we have to use one mapper. Suppose if I am using four mappers now, so the table is not enabled by the primary key, I use four mappers to import the data, again it will throw the error. Okay, so because we have to use only sequential import with -m1, because the table is not enabled by the primary key, we have to use only one mapper, right? So if you are not specified any number of mappers, it will throw the error. If you specify the multiple mappers, it will throw the error. So what is the correct one? You have to use only one mapper for the table which is not enabled by the primary key. But my thing, what I want to do now, I want to use multiple mappers for a table which is not enabled by the primary key. Then we have to use a split by. So just write a parameter split by. So how I want to split by? I want to split the data by using a column ID. So then right here split by space ID. So when you write the column name, so how you want to split the data? Then use a multiple mappers. Press enter. Okay, so test database, the table name is test, and this table is not enabled the primary key, so I want to use a multiple mappers.